This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast. It is Tuesday, May 28, 2024. We're going to talk about Monday Night Raw that emanated from Savannah, Georgia. And it's really crazy to think about. In 2 weeks, we're already talking about another PLE in Clash at the Castle in Scotland, which is going to be massive. We know the crowd's going to be crazy. Drew McIntyre has already alluded to that in his promo, that he's going to be essentially a hometown hero, as he should be, in Scotland, facing Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship. You would imagine Punk is going to be involved in that, screwing over Drew McIntyre. And the only risk with that is if Punk arrives there to screw over McIntyre, you could turn Punk heel, and I don't think that's their intent. So perhaps they just leave Punk out of the equation, and then Punk and McIntyre face off with one another for the world title, as Drew likely wins it in Glasgow in front of his home country. You know, there's almost no chance that Damian Priest retains, I think, in Glasgow. I know it wasn't a long title reign. I don't think it was meant to be one, but I think he's done as good of a job as you can possibly do in his position. He had a short reign. Again, he could retain, but the story here is Punk, it's McIntyre, it's for the world title, and Drew finally, I think, gets his moment in Scotland, not just in front of live fans, but in front of his home country, finally getting that moment. And I'm really, excited for him, and I think the fans are looking forward to that as well. So let's welcome a couple of new patrons who have joined us. Dante Santiago, Junior Ricky. Thank you so much, guys, for being a part of the WWE podcast experience over on Patreon. And over on Patreon, you get yourself an ad-free everything. Okay, you can do it a 7-day free trial if you want to just try us before you commit to anything. Again, that's patreon.com/WWE podcast, or you can go to WWEpodcast.com, or you can use Apple. The native podcast app on Apple does offer a 7-day free trial as well, and you get the exclusive After Dark show done by Anthony DeMarco, who hopefully will be joining me this coming Sunday night for the Weekend Review. My schedule has been horrible, as you all know, which is why especially the mailbag has been late and really late lately. But we're trying to get back on track. We're trying to keep a schedule consistent for you guys, and hopefully he'll be back with me Sunday night for the Week in Review. But all right, well, it's time to talk about this week, or rather the Monday Night Raw that emanated here from Savannah, Georgia. And it opened with a recap video. My God, have we seen enough recap videos? Jeez, I alluded to that too for the King and Queen of the Ring. That was, beyond all the propaganda that I made a big deal about, it was just the constant recap videos. And we got recap videos here, and it makes sense coming off of PLE, but I'm just over recap videos for now. But Kaiser stood in the ring. He introduced Gunther as the new King of the Ring. Gunther came out dressed in his suit, as he does, and he was carrying the crown, not wearing it. He didn't magically adopt a British accent. That was nice. Triple H has taken a much more mature, logical approach to the King and Queen of the Ring. Really appreciate that. It allows for long-term booking as well, built into WWE's schedule from King and Queen of the Ring to SummerSlam. And imagine you're able to imagine who could face who, and the importance of King and Queen of the Ring has now been ramped up to a level that I think it's deserving of, instead of just this prop that you get to carry around and play dress up for several weeks. It actually has something of substance, thank God. So the complaints, or rather maybe not even complaints, just their own doing, they wanted to have something real on the line, and boy, is that a great way to do it, with King and Queen of the Ring likely going to be an annual PLE that leads to a SummerSlam main event. But all right, Gunther comes out, and And we want Randy chant broke out. And Gunther looked at his crown and said he beat Orton. And now the rightful king of the ring has earned the right to challenge the world heavyweight champion at SummerSlam. And Gunther said Damian Priest has stepped up since Rhea Ripley was injured and said the King of the Ring tournament lacked prestige. He said he had to step up and raise the tournament to heights never seen before, and said the World Championship lacks prestige because the champion won it by taking shortcuts, the Money in the Bank winner. And that's when Damian Priest came out. Now, Gunther is all about respect. Gunther, per his character, perhaps respects the sport of pro wrestling more than any other character, and yet he's booed. It's just amazing. I've always said he's not really a heel. He doesn't cheat to win. However, they did make a little bit of a stink about the fact that he didn't truly pin Randy Orton in the closing moments with Randy Orton's shoulder up, and that was very apparent. There's no doubt that Randy Orton's shoulder was off the mat. If you're a referee and that was your actual job, you should be fired. If that actually mattered, but it's not, and it could be just a way to give Randy a little bit of an out. It doesn't make sense that they would even put that in the story, though. Randy, as I mentioned last night, doesn't need to be protected anymore. That's like decades ago. I mean, protecting Randy Orton is something that is it's a waste of time, because Gunther's the one that needs the victory. Gunther's the one that needs to outright beat people. And he didn't cheat to win. He didn't have any help. He didn't use any brass knucks. He didn't do anything behind the referee's back. There's no low blows, no cheap victories. And they can't just have him outright beat Randy Orton. Kind of weird. I mean, if the whole idea is the reason for that was just to protect Orton, I don't think there's a need for that, because I don't want King of the Ring, this victory for Gunther, to be tainted in any way. And in a way, it is a little bit, because if they're bringing it up as a storyline, as part of the story, not a big one, but even any part of it, it's like, oh yeah, well, Gunther really didn't beat Randy. I don't know. It lessens his victory a little, but not enough, I think, to make a massive impact. And ultimately what it means is that we have a world title match for Gunther coming up at SummerSlam in just a couple of months. Obviously, a lot of time between now and then, a lot of weeks to go, a couple of PLEs to get through. And, I really don't believe that it's going to be Damian Priest versus Gunther at SummerSlam. I think that's definitely going to be Gunther perhaps versus Drew McIntyre, but then where does Punk fit in? Is Punk in a triple threat? But if Gunther won the tournament, doesn't that give him a one-on-one? There's a lot of moving parts. Maybe they could have a fatal four-way of sorts, but again, if Gunther wins the tournament and earns a one-on-one, then Punk and Priest can't be involved in the match, and it has to be one-on-one, but we'll see. All right, let's continue. So we got Damian Priest coming out and said that he cashed in like many other champions before him. He said that's how it works, and then questioned whether Gunther gets how business in WWE works. And Gunther said it doesn't matter what Priest thinks. He's the King of the Ring, and he'll challenge Priest for the title if he's still champion at SummerSlam. I'm not going to read the whole promo here, but Drew McIntyre comes out and hyped Priest versus McIntyre for the title at Clash at the Castle. McIntyre said Punk has been back for 6 months now, and said that the highlight of Punk's return has been him. And McIntyre said Punk should have or would have screwed up and been fired with nowhere else to go had he not injured him. And McIntyre introduced himself to Priest and said he would become champion in less than 3 weeks. And McIntyre said he wants the best version of Priest possible, and he's spreading himself too thin. And all right, so I mean, this is quite a bit of a lengthy segment here. Priest asked McIntyre if that was his game plan of mind games, and he mocked the idea of the fans booing getting under his skin, and he got under the skin of McIntyre by mentioning his wife. And then Braun Strowman, who just continues to pick fights unprovoked with the Judgment Day, because I guess he needs something to do. He ends up coming out, and McIntyre makes his exit. Strowman enters, and comes face to face with Priest, who mentioned for his sidekicks to join him. And then Balor and McDonough climbed onto the apron. And again, this was a solid, I think, open to the show. It set things up moving forward. It gave you an idea of maybe who Gunther could face in a couple of months at SummerSlam. It brought into the forefront the Punk and Drew rivalry that's been going on since early April. Now that's nearly 2 months later, and Punk is getting close to a return. Gunther, obviously, being brought to the forefront as well as the King of the Ring. And so there's kind of a multifaceted purpose for the Open Raw here. Lots of moving parts, several different rivalries, potential rivalries. A nice open to show. All right. There was an ad that ran for Friday's SmackDown for here in Albany, New York, and now here's the thing. Am I going to go? Probably not. All right. I'm pretty solidly landing on no. And here's the reason. Obviously, if I'd go, I'd bring my son, and I don't know if he's quite ready for that. It's close, but it's late, all that kind of stuff, right? So it doesn't exactly encourage me to go. But also, the advertising for this show sucks. Like, here's how they sold it. Hey, Cody Rhodes is going to be there. What's next for him? And Nia Jax won Queen of the Ring. So how about that, huh? That was essentially put into a much more lame way of putting it. That's what they sold to me. And that's not enough. It's simply not enough for me to go through all the hassle of getting there. You guys know, if you've been to live events, it's fun. It's a fun experience. But especially if you're bringing a little kid, and just the logistics of getting there, the parking, the paying, the food, the merch, the sitting there, the loudness, especially if you got kids, like, there's a lot to deal with. And then, if the show sucks, you could have just been frustrated and sat at home and watched it in your comfort of your home. And so the bottom line is they did not do a good job of advertising this show to make me want to go. So with them just advertising Cody Rhodes and Nia Jax, like, sorry, not enough. All right. I've seen our feminine champion enough. I've seen him a couple of times now in Albany. Yeah, his entrance is fun, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? And Nia Jax, credit to her, but look, she's not exactly a draw yet. She's not a needle mover yet. So sorry. If that's all you got for me, not exactly a lock it up and throw away the key type of sell for me. I mean, not enough. But watch, the damn Rock will show up or something, and I'll want to, if the Rock shows up for some unknown reason, or some, Rick Roman returns or something like that, let me just tell you, I will not be happy with myself. It will not be a good day at the office, so to speak. All right, we got Braun Strowman versus JD McDonough with Finn Balor, and kind of know what's going to happen here, but Strowman sold a knee injury. He was limping around but he's doing his limping around with this feign knee injury, and yet he still wants to do his choo-choo move, right? Mr. Thomas the Tank Engine, choo-choo around the ring, and yet he has a knee injury. Kind of a bit of a conflict of interest, is it not? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. You have a knee injury, and yet you are now going to do the one move that would put the most strain on your knee. What is happening? I mean, it also comes to the fact that I'm just not a fan of Braun Strowman really at all. You guys know that. I understand what he brings to the table. He's a big guy. He looks the part. He's athletic. His promos are okay, but boy, he's very one-dimensional to me, character-wise. Very one-dimensional. I don't find his character intriguing. I don't find myself interested in his character almost at all. I never have, nearly through his entire career. But again, it seems like a decent enough guy, but just not for me. All right. So Carlito came out while the referee was clearing Balor from the ring, and hit Stroman from behind. Stroman no-sold it and knocked Carlito to the floor. McDonough capitalized with a headbutt, who came back right with a power slam and got the 3 count. So as expected, Braun Strowman beats McDonough. And after the match, Balor and Carlito attacked Stroman, cleared them from the ring. McDonough hit Stroman with a chair, and Stroman no-sold the shot and then knocked the chair out of his hand. And then McDonough ran for his life. And we got essentially Braun Strowman, who's, once again, apparently has a really bad knee, but he's spending the entire show of like nearly 2 hours running around the building, apparently, to find McDonough. Does he really have a knee injury? Yet he's running around trying to find JD. So I don't know. It's fine for what it is. I just don't have an interest in Strowman. That's all. But the show made sense here. The only little nitpick I have is that Stroman and McDonough sold that spot way too long. And why didn't McDonough hit him again? Did someone hit the pause button on him? I mean, McDonough hit him with the chair, and then it felt like 30 seconds later, he's standing there. And it's like, bruh, hit him again, do something, and you're waiting for him to do the dramatic turnaround. I don't know. So anyway, we get Liv Morgan, who was interviewed backstage and said that Morgan said she claimed she didn't know Dominic was going to come out at the event in Saudi. Morgan said that there would be nowhere to run or hide in the cage match and would finally beat Becky Lynch one-on-one, which is and was our main event. So we'll get to that. All right. Braun Breaker's Destruction aired, and then we got Dragunov versus Ricochet. And good, no, not a good match. Really good match. If you just care about the wrestling part of it, you know what Ricochet can be. And you know what he's kind of turned into? You know who Ricochet is now filling the spot of? Dolph Ziggler. That is exactly the spot that Ricochet has been put into since Ziggler left. All right. And you may be saying, well, what are you talking about? Ziggler was the guy that was kind of the gatekeeper to the roster. He'd never really win a big match. He might get a victory here and there, but he's the guy that the company knows they can count on to have a really good match and sell their ass off and make whoever they're in the ring with look really good. They are typically the ones to get involved with a new talent that come in on the roster because they know it's an easy match for both, or especially the new talent. They know that they're going to look really good because of the quality of talent they're in the ring with, like a Dolph Ziggler, now like a Ricochet. So I think Ricochet has filled that spot for the company. And hey, there's no shame in having that spot. It tells you that the company trusts you. It tells you that the company knows and values what you bring to the ring. And that is really good selling. You're in Ricochet's case, he's the highlight of the night, whatever they call him. And so it's a level of trust that the company has in you. So yeah, you're not exactly going to ever probably be at the top of the roster. You're never really going to win the big one. Most likely you may touch a mid-card belt here and there, but you know that that WWE has kind of put him in that position of working with new talent, introducing new talent, having a couple months of an introductory program. And I think that's where Ricochet has landed. Look what they did with him and Logan Paul. Now they're doing it with Dragunov. So that's, I think, what they've allocated Ricochet to is the new Dolph Ziggler. So that sounds like a slight, but it's really not. All right. The match, though, ended with Dragunov fighting with Ricochet to a no contest because Braun Breaker ended up interfering and speared Ricochet, speared Dragunov, and after the match, we had Adam Pearce run out with the producers and referees, and Pearce scolded Breaker, and I thought actually Breaker was going to end up spearing Pearce. Kind of waiting for it. Didn't happen, but there's a lot of comparisons now being made to Goldberg and Braun Breaker. And let me just say, for Braun Breaker's sake, I hope that he doesn't become the next Goldberg. Goldberg is a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. He's a guy that had nearly no any wrestling ability. Okay, he injured a lot of guys. It's just a fact. He had a great look. He had great intensity. He was in the right place at the right time. Fans got on board for him. I never, even in the moment, even while it was going on in the 90s, I never got into Goldberg. To me, he was the bootleg Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was much more dynamic, infinitely better on the microphone, a much more dynamic, deep character than Goldberg. So to me, I remember viewing some of it in WCW in real time, and I'm like, this dude is a Stone Cold knockoff. It felt phony. It felt like they were trying to be something that they're not. But I didn't really watch WCW in the moment very much. So I was very much WWF, very much in that camp. I remember watching WCW a few times with Ric Flair, Sting, a little bit of the NWO stuff. But I during the commercials of Raw, I'd switch over to Nitro for once in a while, but that didn't last long. And then I'd just be all WWF, all Attitude Era from 98 to 2001 until the ushering in of the Ruthless Aggression Era. I've never taken a break from watching wrestling either. Really, since 1997, I've been watching every week since. I'm not trying to get into a diatribe about myself and wrestling in history. I don't know how the hell I got here. But my point about Goldberg and getting back to Braun Breaker, see, I went full circle. I'm getting better. Is that I hope he doesn't, they don't make comparisons to him. I hope they don't try to make him the next anything. I don't want anyone to be the next anything, because then you're going to be compared to something that is unachievable because you're not that person. And then you become strangleheld because you're being held to a standard that you simply can't achieve, because nobody can be the next anything. Everyone's their own person. So I understand what they're saying, though. The intensity, the spear, I get it, but I don't want Braun Breaker being the next Goldberg. Braun Breaker is capable of much more, obviously, than just that move. And the video packages in this case, I think, really helped. You really felt emotional, oddly, for Braun Breaker's destruction last week and putting people in an ambulance. They did a very nice job on that video. And then Braun Breaker coming in again when he wasn't supposed to be there this week and spearing two guys and telling Adam Pearce, this is on you. He's still bitter about not being in the King of the Ring tournament, which is kind of funny. So I think Braun Breaker is getting some attention here. They're doing a nice job. One quick mention before we get to the rest of Raw. MJF. Obviously, he's back in AEW. Seems like he's back there for the long haul. Reports have been, these are reports from, our anonymous sources that we've heard, is that WWE did get in touch with him and he did speak with WWE. And apparently, again, this is what I've heard, MJF asked to be one of the top 3 paid guys in the company and they refused. So MJF went with the most money, if that's the case, if that happened. And he went with AEW. I mean, he would have been a fool not to talk to WWE. A fool. Of course he wanted to. Of course he did. And Tony Khan got the job done and paid him essentially whatever he needed to be paid. And we all thought he was going to stay with AEW, and he did. And right now he's a babyface. And he got an AEW tattoo. And he said he doesn't need any New Japan. He doesn't need a Vince McMahon, right? That was the money line. He's the wolf of wrestling. I saw the promo. So, hey, do I think eventually MJF is going to be a part of WWE? Yes. And I think it will happen probably upon the expiration of his next contract. You can't simply, I'm sorry, you can't tell me. And I hope all promotions succeed. I have nothing against AEW. I'm not one of those, got to be in one camp or the other. You can't like both. Of course not. No. I support AEW wholeheartedly. I wish them nothing but success. But if you're MJF, smart guy, He cannot look objectively at both companies and say that both are equal, that both have the same level of talent, that both have the same viewership. They don't. WWE is leaps and bounds ahead of AEW. They have a deeper roster. They're in a new era. They've got more momentum and have had more momentum for months now. And you have AEW floundering, hitting, missing, doing embarrassing stuff. Mercedes Moné continues to be one of the worst characters I've ever seen in my life. Because I really believe that's part of who she is as a person, unfortunately. And if she would just be a heel, I think that might work, but that's another story. But now you got MJF, and if MJF is going to be the guy that you're going to put the whole company on the back of, he could carry it. He could do it. MJF is really that good. He's really that good. So it's just a shame because I am still an advocate of MJF coming to WWE. I still want it to happen. I still believe it will happen. But not until whatever his contract is with AEW runs out, which I'm going to assume is a few years. I'm going to assume he signed a multi-year, probably a 3-year deal. I don't know how many million a year. Who knows? So perhaps in 2027, we're looking at an MJF WWE combination. So I just wanted to mention that before I forget about MJF. Big fan. I want him in WWE because there's so many guys he could work with. The promos that he could cut with certain guys would be dream pairings. Just my God. So, all right. We get Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods showed up and asked with the Miz. Okay, I don't really care. I'm sorry. I just don't care about Kofi and Xavier. I just don't care. That's the God's honest truth. I could care less what they do backstage. In the ring, I'd have respect for commenting on it, but Xavier and Kofi, if they're in a non-wrestling role, I really just I don't give a crap about them. So that's kind of where I landed. But Karrion Kross did show up, and it looks like there's going to be a matchup between Woods and Kross, and perhaps AOP and Kofi and Xavier. So, all right. That seems to kind of be where they're heading. And let's see. Where are we going? AOP versus Julius Creed and Brutus Creed, who continue to get no character development, but continue to kill it in the ring. So AOP beats the Creed brothers in nearly 3 minutes. Which ended with AOP hitting their powerbomb and neck break finish, which is now known as What a Rush, play on the Road Warriors. And then Razor pinned Julius Creed. So, it makes sense that AOP wins, I think, here, but also the Creed brothers to lose this quickly is a bit jarring, given that the matches they've had up to this point have been longer form and more competitive and more time to have more minutes to breathe and do what they do best, which is tell a story. And the Creed brothers have done nothing but deliver. And I know there is talk too about the Creed brothers potentially joining Chad Gable. I've seen that. I like it because here's the thing. Eventually Tozawa and Otis are going to see the light and turn on Gable. And Gable's going to need some backup. I think the Creed brothers would be perfect. So I've heard that. I love it. All right. We then have Sheamus coming out, and he said he was out of breath just walking to the ring. He brought up the King of the Ring tournament and said he was not involved because Kaiser took him out. He said he's back and can't wait to get his hands on Kaiser, and Kaiser appeared on the big screen while talking from a backstage area. And Kaiser told Sheamus not to blame him for losing the King of the Ring match, and that no one stood a chance in the ring with Gunther. And a cameraman followed Sheamus as he headed back in search of Kaiser, who jumped him from behind, and Kaiser dragged Sheamus onto the stage, where they traded punches until they had to pull apart. So Kaiser and Sheamus, fine. Lyra Valkyria versus Kairi Sane. 3 minutes and 45 seconds with Lyra beating Kairi Sane after she hooked Zayn into a pin and got the 3 count. So that's how it ended. Fine. Not much here. Makes sense that Lyra wins, given that she went to the finals of the women's Queen of the Ring tournament. All right, a lot of, I guess, dissension and frustration and fracturing within the Judgment Day clubhouse. A lot of like, hey, where's Dom? Where's JD? Who's running this place? Mommy's not going to be happy. Where does Dom's loyalties lie? Like all these questions. So Judgment Day seems to be perhaps fracturing to the point of no return. And remember where this all started with Edge? Remember that? That's where the whole thing started, was Edge turning heel. And they turned on Edge, which I still don't, to this day, I'll stand by it. I don't think that was the right choice. It was too soon. But hey, look where we are now. The Judgment Day is the bloodline of Raw. Rey Mysterio versus Carlito. And by the way, we got an acknowledgement of Savannah Bananas. I have no idea who the hell or what the hell that is, or what group that is. I don't have a clue. Was that like... Oh, no, Cole did explain. He said they're like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. Okay. Sure. Never heard of them in my life, but I get the analogy. All right, so this match ended with Rey beating Carlito, and Carlito went up to the apron, and it was run into the ring post. Finn Balor hopped on the barricade and attacked Dragon Lee. Mysterio dove onto Balor with a senton, and then Rey returned to the ring and avoided a backstabber and hit the 619 and dropped the dime, or a dime. I don't know if it's the dime or a dime, on Carlito and got the victory. But after the match, Rey attacked Balor at ringside and placed him on the broadcast table, and Dragon Lee went up top. But Damian Priest comes out and hits Rey from behind. Carlito grabs Lee and then spat an apple in his face, and Priest entered the ring and hit Lee with the Razor's Edge. And then Rey came in, tried to set up Priest for the 619, but he had to fight off Balor, and then Priest hit Rey with a South of Heaven chokeslam. And Priest stands tall. And that makes sense to me. If you're going to have a title match with Priest and McIntyre in just a couple weeks for the world title, you want your champion going in looking as strong as possible. So from here until they have the match in Glasgow, Scotland, am I saying that right? I know I get corrected every single time from, I believe, Dino, one of our listeners. Is it Glasgow or Glasgow? Glasgow. Oh, crap. I have to go back. I'm sure he's yelling. He's like, no, it's pronounced like this. Is it Glasgow? Glasgow? Like a cow that's made of glass? Oh, boy. Can you tell English is my only language? I don't have a second language. You know, remember when they went to France and I didn't know what the number 2 was spelled in French? That's how low the bar is. It's sad. I cannot go out of the United States or I am screwed. Or what I would do, honestly, is just use Google Translate. Like they have those apps that you can just, use to translate in real time someone speaking in a different language to English. That's what I would do. Yeah, but then I'd out myself as the most dorky tourist, of all time. So I'll tell you this: I would never fit in as a local. I would never be accepted by the local folk. Let me tell you, wherever that may be, outside of the United States, I'm screwed. Just totally. I don't pronounce anything right. I've never seen the number 2 in French be written. It's not a good look. Not a good look. All right. Okay. But it was cool. You know what was cool for me, though, is seeing Rey Mysterio and Carlito. Because they told us it was 20 years since it was the last Rey and Carlito match. How? You're telling me 2004 was the last time Rey and Carlito faced each other? That's absurd. How has it been that long? If it felt like this match should have been bigger, been promoted bigger. I mean, like, those two were faces of ruthless aggression. Really, so obviously very, very fun moments with Rey Mysterio throughout his career, especially during that time. So I mean, just when they said that, I'm like, wait, what? All right. But Carlito continues to look really good, by the way. Carlito continues to feel like he's also in a time machine. Like Carlito, Orton, and Rey are all in some kind of time loop that we don't see. They're in another dimension, able to astroplane into our current dimension, making it look like they're really here, but they're not, because they don't age. All right, Bronson Reed versus Otis. Another quick match here. 3 minutes and 45 seconds with Bronson Reed defeating Otis, but it was because we had Chad Gable accidentally, but we don't know, costing Otis the match, yelling at Otis for trying to do the caterpillar, stopping him a couple of times. Reed took advantage of the distraction, hit the tsunami, and got the victory. But after the match, here's the more important part. Gable got on the mic and stopped Otis from leaving, and Gable told Otis to get back into the ring, called the entire group into the ring, continues to insult Maxine, who, boy, does anybody have a pair? And we'll get to that in a minute, but Gable said he'd had enough, and Gable asked Otis what he's going to do with him, and Gable blamed Otis for costing him the IC title on Saturday, and he blew it and gave him a chance to redeem himself. But Gable said Otis lacks discipline, and he would show him discipline in front of everyone, and he's going to do something that he didn't want to do, but he has to. He was about to take off his belt and beat him like a father would beat a son, in a spanking. And Maxine stopped him, though, and Gable asked if it was too much for her and told her to leave and not come back. She also insulted her intelligence earlier in the night. And Sami Zayn comes out, and Zayn said Gable thinks he's tough, but he's a weak little man. Zayn said Gable has manipulated his way into multiple opportunities for the IC title, and he's come up short each time. And he finds people to blame, but he can't get the job done. Zayn told Otis to listen to the fans. Yeah, I mean, that was a little pandering. How about he just told him to listen to his heart or something? I don't like when they were pandered to, but nonetheless, it still makes sense. The crowd popped. Otis looked to the crowd and started to get fired up. And Zayn told Otis this is his last chance after Otis pulled Zayn off of Gable, and Gable grabbed Zayn from behind and German suplexed him. That allowed Gable to get the advantage, and then they ended up leaving the ring. And Tozawa followed, and Gable had Otis and Tozawa walk in front of him, and I mean, it's berating, and the build to an eventual Otis snap is the payoff here. I hope there's a plan, though, for Otis, as I've continued to say, beyond just the turn. I mean, what happens then? Like, does Otis continue to float around the mid to lower card? Does he get elevated into maybe the IC title conversation? What happens? We don't know. But the build is there. The fans want it. The fans have been waiting for an Otis turn. And, this to me, did you really need to have someone come out to stop another wrestler from giving you a spanking on national television? You know what I mean? Like, I totally get the premise. The embarrassment. I don't understand the conflict of interest, though. Like for Otis, what's the conflict? What's the downside to leaving? What's the downside to leaving? There is no one. I mean, I don't see the conflicted argument just because he was his friend or something, I guess. But Gable continues to be a really good heel. Even as the shorter underdog, he's got the big mouth. He's got the ego. It shows you don't always need to be an overwhelming, overpowering heel that cheats to win to be booed. You can get it done even when you're undersized, and typically you would look like an underdog, and yet you're able to get the crowd to turn on you, who would otherwise cheer you by default because of your size, because you're so talented on the microphone. And it's the power of the promo, my friends. Power of promo and presence. One more P and I could say the 3 Ps. Getting close. But very good here. Otis will eventually snap. I just wish he didn't. It needs someone to help him from taking a spanking as a 35-year-old adult on national television from another man. You don't have enough respect for yourself that that you would say, hey, no, that's a little too much. You had to have someone come out and save you. Again, effective segment. It's kind of a small complaint, but one that's, I think, valid. I think it's valid. All right. Yeah, but hey, you guys better validate my opinions. One of the worst phrases in 2024 ever. All right. So Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch in a steel cage. Boy. Quick match here. Quicker than I thought it would be, but it was 13 minutes, although Hulu made it feel a lot shorter. And the finish was Morgan going for Oblivion, but Lynch avoided it and tried to apply a disarmer. Morgan drove her into the cage and then climbed the ropes, but was caught by Lynch, who hit a side Russian leg sweep. Dom comes out, opens the cage door, and told Lynch to exit via the door, and Finn and JD come out. Morgan dropkicked Lynch while Balor and McDonough spoke to Dom. Morgan tried to escape, and Lynch grabbed her feet, and then Braun Strowman ran out, chased Balor and McDonough around the ring. Strowman collided with Dom, causing him to slam the door on Lynch's head, and then Morgan escaped through the cage door to win. And so Liv Morgan beats Becky Lynch in 13 minutes to retain the Women's World Championship as expected. And, there's a lot of talk swirling around about Becky's contract status and, that she's she has now no contract in WWE and that she's, may or may not come back. Maybe AEW, maybe she's just taking time for herself. Maybe they're just giving the fans a time to break and all that. We'll get to the kiss in a minute, but Becky Lynch, if the contract rumors are true, this is the best thing for her. Do I think she's going to go to AEW? No. Her husband's in WWE. They have a daughter together. AEW is not even in the cards for her. All right. There's just no chance. But Becky Lynch right now, from a character perspective, absolutely couldn't have come at a better time to give her a break. To think about what the next version of herself is going to be. Maybe change her look, become a little darker. If you're going to turn heel, go into a darker character. Not into a goth Rhea Ripley type look, but maybe I'm just spitballing here. But the biggest point I'm trying to make is that this is a perfectly timed contract expiration that could lead to a longer hiatus for Becky Lynch. It's perfectly timed. The fans are, I think, mellow, or rather neutral to slightly supportive of Becky Lynch. No one's overjoyed when she wins the belt anymore. And it's just, I think a big part of it is her character is stale and has been stale for a couple of years. That's all. So this couldn't come at a better time for her. Give her time in WWE time to reinvent the wheel if they need to. Go back to the drawing board on her character. Give Becky Lynch time to recharge her batteries, spend time at home with her family, as Seth is also out for the foreseeable future. So, again, boy, just add her to the list of potential returns between Seth Rollins and eventually John Cena is going to come back. The Rock's going to come back for sure. Roman Reigns hasn't made his return yet. There's a laundry list of massive stars. Becky Lynch on the women's side of things, Charlotte on the women's side of things. there's a laundry list of massive star power that we're going to see over the next few months. But then Liv Morgan and Dom have an interaction on the stage, or rather on the ramp, if you want to call it that now. And Liv Morgan goes up to Dom at the very last seconds of Raw and kisses him. Dom seems to actually resist, though, and they kiss, or she kisses him, and the show ends. No commentary from Cole. Nothing to narrate it. Like, hey, what the hell's going on here? Nothing. So Dominic and Liv could end up being an on-air couple. I think they will. And why? It fits Liv's narrative of the revenge tour. It completes her revenge. She's taking her title. Now she's taking Rhea's man. Right? She's taking everything. She said she was going to take everything from Rhea, and so far she has. And I was, you know what? I'll admit, I was very critical of the Liv Morgan revenge tour when she announced it several months back before Rhea got injured. It sounded corny. It sounded like something they just kind of made up in a boardroom. That, Liv Morgan, she just goes on a revenge tour, right? And I don't think it was ever meant to be this successful, because they clearly didn't mean to actually hurt Rhea, but the actual injury to Rhea is the best thing ever for this revenge tour. It fits the narrative perfectly in kind of a morbid way. She takes Rhea's title. She takes Rhea's man, takes Rhea's spot on Raw. And imagine the pop if Rhea and Dom become a couple and they're standing in the ring after, say, Liv Morgan's successful title defense at SummerSlam, and Rhea Ripley's music hits. What does Dom's face look like? What does Rhea's face look like when mommy comes home and sees Dominic and Liv Morgan making out, holding hands in the middle of the ring, doing something that you'd get caught red-handed for? I mean, it's such a fun thought that I think is very realistic to actually come to pass. But I love the kiss. A little bit of a love triangle, romance angle every once in a while is needed. It doesn't always need to be blood and guts all the time. It doesn't need to be over a belt all the time. This is a nice detour that I think fans are into. What is mommy gonna do? What is she gonna say? Who is she gonna attack? All we know is this for certain. It's going to happen. They'll probably prance around for a couple months as, a couple on Raw. But the fact remains that Rhea Ripley, who, if she already wasn't when she left, is now cemented in for a massive babyface run upon her return. So Rhea Ripley is going to get just a monstrous reaction when she returns. And maybe that's at SummerSlam. Oh, and Brock Lesnar apparently had his ban lifted from WWE. So there's another name. Add Brock Lesnar to the list. Guys, we have a massive roster sitting on the bench, so to speak. We have one of the best rosters on the bench that we've ever had. And yet wrestling still right now is very good. So WWE right now, man, is the place to be if you're a pro wrestler. I know AEW fans, I love you. I'm a fan of the promotion as well, but there's just no comparison. There's not. I understand Gangrel came back with Edge. I saw that. That's pretty cool. Something Edge wanted to do at WrestleMania 38, and WWE shot him down. Or was it WrestleMania 37? I can't remember. 38? 38, I think. So seeing Gangrel and Edge back together was kind of a cool moment. But, yeah. So overall, I thought it was just an effective Raw. One that moved things forward in a lot of ways, and less wrestling. It felt like this time around, a little bit more backstage stuff, a little bit more video packages, but that's fine. Every Monday Night Raw, every SmackDown doesn't need to be 98% wrestling. The backstage stuff does add a lot to the product. It breaks things up, and this was, I think, a well balanced show overall. But let's see. I think that might be doing it for the Monday Night Raw review here. But I guess I'll close it out there. I'll say thank you. You guys want to go ad-free, do it on patreon.com/WWE podcast, or go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe there for a 7-day free trial. So that'll do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for listening. I'll try to get the mailbag tomorrow, but more than likely it'll be a Thursday, Friday deal. So it gives you more time to call in, and you can leave a voicemail. I'll try to get to those. And the email and the voicemail are both in the show notes of any mailbag show. So check that out. And thanks so much. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.